What is up, W Sports Podcast? Jimothy and Tubby, we are back again, and you guessed it, we are 2 days away, literally 2 days away as this live drops for the Super Bowl to be rolling, and what a great time to just sit back. Let's talk some Chiefs football, just repping the Chiefs today and get into it. So, Tubby, man, welcome back to the show.
It's Super Bowl weekend. It's time. I'm ready for it. I've been missing some football, so I'm ready for it to get back and up and going.
You talking about the Pro Bowl wasn't the football you wanted?
Not even a little bit.
Yeah, it's pretty brutal. But hey, it's all over now. We don't got to worry about that. You don't have to pretend like it's entertaining if you didn't think it was. Here we are into Super Bowl Sunday. It's here. I'm so excited. It's going to be great. Obviously, I'm excited because I'm a Chiefs fan. We're in Kansas City. And I realize Philadelphia also has this too. They already have plans in place to be able to have a parade. And I'm like, don't jinx it. Stop talking about it. So, anyway, that's where we're at.
Yeah, I mean, I guess at least in Philadelphia, they've got to have a little bit more preparation because we know how crazy the Philadelphia fans can be, and they have to grease up the light poles. So maybe they're already starting that now, just in case.
Yeah, they might have to. Might not be a bad idea. Random question, Tubby. What's the go-to you're having Super Bowl? Are you doing finger foods? Or are you doing no, we're going to have, brisket? I don't know. What is your go-to Super Bowl?
Go-to Super Bowl.
Dish.
I'm a big dip guy when it comes to the Super Bowl. Like my mom makes really good 7-layer dip, but I think this time we're doing something a little different where we are going to, I think Dad's going to smoke some ribs and kind of taking like a spin on it like wings. And so he's going to make ribs, but he's not going to put barbecue sauce on them. We're going to do different wing sauces on top of the ribs.
Oh, I like it. Okay. How spicy are you going?
I mean, I'm a big fan like Buffalo Wild Wings Jamaican jerk.
Okay.
Or the Caribbean jerk. That's like my favorite. So it's it's a pretty good spice, but it also has like a little hint of sweet onto it. So it's not too bad, but yeah.
No, it totally makes sense. We this year are doing something brand new also. There's a place here that does a really big taco thing. It's a good deal, so we're going to do that. A lot of tacos, some taquitos, and some chips and salsa. Can't go wrong with that. Should be a great time.
No, tacos are always a good choice.
Yeah, and my wife's favorite thing right now is the Topo Chico. She loves those the water. I'm like, all right, that sounds good to me. Let's get it. So, whatever is the good vibes, good juju, whatever you want to say for the Chiefs, we gotta have it out there. So we're gonna go over in this episode, of course, all the things the Super Bowl, some of the positional breakdowns, who's got the edge, and I mean, we can even go head coaching. So we'll get into that. But before we do, let's catch everyone up on some of the news and notes that have actually happened leading up to the Super Bowl Sunday. And one of them was the big one. Myles Garrett, the Defensive Player of the Year. Was he Defensive Player of the Year or one of the candidates for Defensive Player?
He was one of the candidates. Right. He was Defensive Player of the Year, I believe, last year.
Right, and then Porter won. Was it Porter won this year?
No.
It was one of the Suns.
Surtain.
Patrick Surtain. I'm thinking Joey Porter Jr. Patrick Surtain Jr. got it. So Myles Garrett requests the trade. Lots of speculation already of obviously not surprised why he's asking for a trade, but most people expect him to end up in the joke was Arizona, where it doesn't matter. He's going to continue there. And the other one was fine. We'll just trade with the Chiefs. And you know what? That could work out.
You gonna trade? Who you gonna trade for him?
Oh no, yeah, I don't know, man. There's zero chance that happens. It's just that is what the conspiracy theorists are gonna want to say. But I don't know. Any early indications on where you think he might end up if you had to pick?
It's tough. I've seen a lot of rumors where he could end up, and I've seen Detroit's name out there quite a bit. I know Josh Jacobs the other day was like, "Oh yeah, I've already been talking to him, trying to get him to come here." And honestly, I'm not quite sure at this point. I think it's going to be somewhere that has money. That's for sure.
It has to be. Yeah. I mean, he's the new why is my mind blanking? Rams retired 2 years ago.
Aaron Donald.
He's the new Aaron, just an absolute beast. You can't stop him. So, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, time will tell. Let's find out. All right. The other one was I don't think Offensive Player of the Year totally makes sense. Get it to Saquon Barkley, 2,000 yards. I understand that one. Offensive Rookie of the Year, I think that makes sense. Defensive Rookie of the Year, all these things all of them made sense. There's one though, it was a tight race, but even towards the end of it, you and I, we both, think we leaned towards one guy who uh, was obviously a multi MVP winner in the past.
Mhm.
Did Lamar get hosed, or did Josh Allen truly deserve this one?
I think Lamar got hosed. I mean, I don't mind seeing Josh Allen get it, but also I believe that Lamar had the better season. I think Lamar should have won back to back, and I think a part of it was they just didn't want to give it to Lamar 2 years in a row.
Yeah, it's like in the NBA whenever they stop giving it to LeBron, and they're like, "Listen, we're
Mhm.
just tired of it. We're just
Yeah, pretty much.
because numbers across the board, fewer turnovers. Just it was wild that it didn't happen, and both teams had like great supporting cast, running back wise. So you can't say that. Oh, well, he had Derrick Henry, that's why I took some of the pressure off. Well, he had James Cook. Like I,
Yeah,
I just when you look at it on paper, and that's just wild. And I feel like that they really did dominate for most of the year. Well, so did I mean both teams did. It was a
yeah,
tight race for a reason, that the closest one in a long time. But yeah, I agree with you. It should have been Lamar.
yeah.
So
I was surprised to see Mahomes up as high as he was in the vote. Honestly,
yeah. Anybody else besides Mahomes? I mean, Mahomes did he went really well towards the end of the year.
yeah,
One legit loss in the season is probably part of that reason.
yeah. But I mean, you look at his numbers wise, and you're like,
Yeah.
I know they only lost legitimately one game, but also it was one of his worst statistic seasons in his career.
Well, how about the fact that Justin Herbert got a vote?
Yeah, no.
That was ridiculous. I don't know who did that. I imagine it's got to be Harbaugh or something. I don't know who if he even has a vote, but who else would have voted for him? We in other news, we did have the Hall of Fame class was announced,
Yeah,
and it was the smallest class announced since I believe 2005. Did you know that?
I did not.
So here's some trivia. In 2005, can you name me how many players were inducted and which they were?
Oh boy,
Yeah,
2005. Trying to think of. Oh, that's tough. That's a ways back there.
four. Let me
Let's
double
say
check.
there. Let's say there was two. And I
There
don't know
was
who they
two.
are.
Why is it showing me Pro Football Hall of Fame? Oh
Trying to
man,
think.
I had this and now I've mixed up my days. This is gonna sound so silly. What year? Let me Barry. There was one year it was two.
hmm
Hall of Fame year. I'm gonna have to look this up. This is terrible. This is
Yeah,
terrible podcasting right here.
like no
Uh
names are like popping in my head either. I'm trying to think of when guys retired, stuff like that.
yeah, Barry Sanders, the year he went in, there was only two. And he made the Hall of
Mhm.
Fame. Why is it not even showing? This is ridiculous. Well, anyway, the year that Barry Sanders did, I can't remember who else did, but there's only two.
Yeah,
So I'm moving
uh,
on. This is terrible.
I will say though, I was excited to see Sterling Sharp finally got the nod because a lot of people point to the fact that he didn't play as many years, but the years that he played, he was one of the most dominant wide receivers in the NFL. Led the NFL in receptions 3 years in a row. The
Dude.
neck injury, definitely killed him, but everyone was like, "Oh, he didn't play enough." Well, Terrell Davis got in. Terrell
Hmm.
Davis played way less games than uh, Sterling Sharp did. So I'm glad that he finally got the nod. And I don't know if you saw the video with him and Shannon Sharp telling him that he made it. It
I
was
haven't seen
pretty
the video, but
cool.
I heard about it.
Yeah. So he like comes downstairs into his basement, and Shannon's standing there with his gold jacket on, and there's like three or four other people in the background. He's like, "Welcome," and he's like, "Welcome to your house." He's like, "To the Hall of Fame," and it was a pretty cool moment because you know Shannon Sharp, whenever he did his Hall of Fame speech, he's like, "It's crazy to say that I'm the one in my family that's in the Hall of Fame, but I'm not even the best football player in my family." And so it's cool to see that Sterling got it after a couple years. He probably should have made it before
Hmm.
then.
Yeah, no, I 100% agree with that. And just so you know, it was John Elway and Barry
Okay.
Sanders. So I don't know why it took me forever. My brain kept wanting to say Emmett Smith. I was like, "There's no way that's right." Okay, moving
No.
on. But no, Sharp should have 100% made it. The neck injury was brutal, but he was so dominant, like you said. And if
Yeah.
anybody hasn't ever seen I mean, there's some couple NFL things about him, like NFL films type things, but
Hmm.
go and just look up highlight videos either on YouTube or just look at his stats, and you're going to say like, "Holy cow, what year did this guy play?" Because
Yeah.
he's not only is he getting catches and receptions, he's finding the end zone
Yeah.
consistently.
Yeah. He if he would have stayed healthy, he would have been one of the top 5 wide receivers in NFL history, more than likely.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. So, all right, well, let's go ahead. We're going to move on to some Super Bowl predictions. And so, as we go through this, and if you're in the chat, go ahead and put yours as well. We're going to go through. Hey, where are the who do you lean towards? The advantage is maybe positionally. We can go through some head coaches, and we're going to start. I think. Do you want to start with the main ones? Or do you want to start on the defensive side?
Let's start with the defensive side real
I
quick.
like it. That's what I was feeling too. So, all right, we're gonna go ahead and go secondary. We're gonna, we're not gonna go
Mhm.
necessarily strong safety, free safety. We're gonna go
Yeah.
secondary. Tevy, I got to know, who do you feel like has the stronger secondary right now?
Right now, I'm going to give it to the Eagles. And last year, it was definitely the Chiefs, but Chiefs have a few injuries on the back end, in the secondary. And, losing a couple guys that they did. Trent McDuffie's still an incredible corner.
Hmm.
But what Quinyon Mitchell and Cooper DeJean have been able to do their rookie years is pretty impressive. Throw Darius Slay in there, and then you got, you know, Blankenship and Chauncey Gardner Johnson in the back end. That's a pretty formidable, secondary right there.
Yeah, I honestly lean the same way as well. It's like as a unit or as a
Mhm.
whole, I think the Eagles secondary is definitely they have the better maybe players or individually, like just cumulative, whatever you want to say, however you want to
Mhm.
break it down. I think we're both going to go Eagles. So let's go ahead and go with that defensive front, just the defensive line, the edge rushers. I mean, one of them's got Chris Jones. I mean, one of them
Yeah.
doesn't. One's got Carl Loftus. But both teams are playing so well in the front. I think this is going to be
Yeah.
tough.
Yeah. This one's tough because, granted, the outside of Chris Jones, the Chiefs don't have like the wholesale names like the Eagles do, where you got Jalen Carter and you got Brandon Graham that's been there for how many years. Nolan Smith's kind of came into his own. Josh Sweat, Jordan Davis, Milton Williams. You don't have all these big names like the Chiefs do, but the Chiefs front is so underrated. I mean, Karloftis has really come on this year.
Yeah.
Minahu has been,
Thank you.
really
Yes.
good whenever he's been healthy.
Yeah.
uh I forget the other kid's name. Was it Barden or Warden?
Uh, on the for the
He,
Chiefs, right?
yeah,
Oh, let me pull it up
he's
real quick.
from he's from. I talked about him a couple weeks ago from NFC or for the AFC Championship game.
Wharton.
Wharton, yeah,
Wharton.
Wharton.
Sorry.
I mean, a name that no one really knows, has 6.5 sacks this year. But I'm gonna give just the slightest push to the Eagles just because I think that they have a little bit better pass rushers off the edge than the Chiefs do.
Okay. I mean, I almost might just say push. We're just going to give it.
Yeah.
This is even across the board. I see what you're saying. I'm not going to disagree with
Mm-hmm.
you. It's the same thing. Like we've just seen them, and the Eagles right now have been playing at their peak. I think
Yeah.
on the defensive side, so it's hard to stop them right now. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna push. I'm gonna say they're gonna be even, and I know that's kind of a cop out, but based off this is Super Bowl though. Like they're
Yeah.
both really really good for a reason. I want to know when you think of the linebacking play. Now, not necessarily edge rushers, but like
Mm-hmm.
the guys who are going to be covering the tight ends, the slot receivers. Yeah, they're not nickel, corners, but like
Yeah.
who is it that you're leaning on for this one?
I'm going to give this one to the Chiefs. And a part of it is due to the fact that Nakobe Dean got hurt for the Eagles. And so now you're starting a guy like Warren Burke, who has played good in the postseason for them.
Mm-hmm.
But you look at what the Chiefs have, they have a deep linebacker core. And
Mm-hmm.
headed by Nick Bolton, who is one of the most underrated linebackers in the NFL. And, Drew Tranquil, who's a very underrated guy, especially when it comes to spying. And in the pass game, he is a really good cover linebacker. So I'm going to give them the edge because if Nakobe Dean was there, I think it would be really close, a lot like the front.
Yeah.
Uh, but I'm gonna give it to the Chiefs just because, like I said, Nick Bolton is so underrated.
Yeah. No, I'm also going to do the same thing. I mean, just the things you said, the spying, uh, Leo Chanel right now. I'm just saying,
Mm,
like, there are so many different guys on this team that have stepped up at different times and made big plays. So I'm going to also this one I'm going to go lean towards the Chiefs for sure on this one. And this is an
yeah.
area I think of the game that has almost tried to have been schemed out is the
Hmm.
importance of having great linebackers. But as you can
Yeah.
see here in the playoffs, especially with the best quarterbacks, you have to have good like a spy or just guys who can
Hmm.
cover when it matters most because these guys who can pick up that back breaking third down run play, you have to have the linebackers for it. And we've seen the Chiefs do it really well. They've played against the
Yeah.
best. We'll see what the Eagles matchup looks like with Patrick Mahomes, obviously, on the other side. So, that all being said, Tubby, I got to know who are you giving the edge to on defense? You just gave 2 of the 3 categories to
Yeah.
the Eagles.
Now, does the defensive coordinator come into play on this, or is it just the
It's up to you,
defense?
Tubby.
I'm gonna I'm gonna give the edge to the Chiefs, and part of it is due to Steve Spagnuolo in the postseason. I mean, we see it every year. We've talked about it how many times, where he doesn't show it really much of anything. He runs a lot of the same stuff throughout the regular season, but when it comes to the postseason, he schemes up so much stuff that the teams do not see, and it throws the teams off because they're not able, to practice for it and prep for it. And I think that's a big factor in what the scheme is, especially because, like you said, as a whole, player wise, I think the Eagles have it. But I think as a whole as a team, the Chiefs are where it is because we've seen them win championships, we've seen them win offense, but last year we saw them dominate in the defensive side. And
Hmm.
they lost a couple guys here and there from free agency trades or whatever, but they're still a really good defense this year.
Yeah, same thing. Like even if that's why I wanted to see what you were considering. Positionally, 2-1
Mm-hmm.
Eagles. I think I was 1-1-1 since I had the tie on that
Mm-hmm.
one side. But yeah, no, it's going to be for me. Even I think positionally, even if we would have gone 3-0 Eagles, I probably would have still given it to the Chiefs just because of Steve Spagnuolo. And
Mm-hmm.
most often, these Super Bowls lately have come down to 1 or 2 key plays. It's the
Yep.
stop, it's the conversion, whatever that looks like. And Spagnuolo has had a higher success rate than any
Mm-hmm.
other coordinator that I've seen, and it is absolutely incredible. Outside of the tush push, there's almost
Yeah.
like what other guarantee do you have in the
Mm-hmm.
game of football? So I do agree. Give me the Chiefs on this, and but I do. Here's the thing: we start on the defensive side for a reason because we do believe that defense is incredibly valuable, can win championships. But whenever
Yeah.
you look at the game, I think a lot of it you have 2 incredible offensive, like just portfolios, different players
Mm-hmm.
that can jump out at you, and well-oiled machines. Different, but this kind of the same. So
Yeah.
let's transition to the offensive side of the ball, and we're going to start with the offensive line. These guys got to win in the trenches because if you can't win in the trenches, what are you even doing out here? You can become too one-dimensional. It's
Mm-hmm.
you just can't do that in the Super Bowl. I don't expect either of these teams to do that. So who are you going to give the slight edge?
Yeah. I mean, for me, this one's pretty easy. Is Yeah, Landon Dickerson is hurt, but the problems that the Chiefs have had along the offensive line, which they have remedied towards the end of the
Hmm.
season with moving Joe Tooney out, but that offensive line for the Eagles is just unworldly. I mean, even with Jason Kelsey retiring, moving Cam Jurgens to center, and then bringing in Mekhi Becton to play right guard, they've haven't missed a beat.
Yep. Yep. No, I'm not going to disagree with you at all. I
Yeah.
unfortunately have to say that too. Part of the reason is just that some of the penalties and
Mm-hmm.
uh, not necessarily injury concerns, but like they've had to rotate guys. Guys haven't been 100% at this point in the year. No one is 100%.
Yeah.
But I would definitely. I mean, you don't get a 2,000-yard rusher. I mean, yes, Saquon Barkley
Mm-hmm.
is incredible, but you don't do that without an incredible offensive line. So,
Yeah.
yeah, give me the. And I do think this is one of those. Uh, yeah, it's definitely a heavier side favorite towards that side. But
Mm-hmm.
again, we
Yeah.
talked about defensive front. They got a good matchup on the other side, so we'll see. Good
Yeah.
defensive coordinator going against it. But all right, let's move on. We got wide receivers is what we're going to talk about. I almost said running backs and just said, all right, we're done. We'll
Yeah.
get to that one here soon. But when it comes to the wide receiver group, who you got on this one?
Yeah, it's going to be the Eagles on this one also, just because, I mean, when you got A.J. Brown and Devonta Smith, it's one of the best 1-2 punches in the NFL. Maybe Devonta hasn't had the best, season this year compared to, I think, what a lot of people were expecting him to do. But it's still super dangerous to have two guys out there that, I mean, if Devonta Smith can reach his potential, could be a number one on most teams in the NFL. So I think the Chiefs wide receivers are very sneaky because they are, I think, more of a group, because there's not just that one guy that they're going to find. Where
Yep.
With the Eagles, they're going to rely a lot on AJ Brown, but the Chiefs, you're going to see guys, from Hollywood Brown to DeAndre Hopkins to Xavier Worthy, catching passes, and I'm sure they'll find some other guys out there that no one's heard of, just
Christian
randomly
Watson with
catching a
2
pass.
catches,
Yeah,
a touchdown. Yeah, and
yeah,
I think that's a good point. The leading receiver for the Eagles in this game easily could have 8 for 120, right, in a score or
mm-hmm.
two. The leading receiver for the Chiefs in this game, and you wouldn't be surprised either side if they win, but the
Yeah,
Chiefs, it could be 4 catches, 60 yards, no score,
mm-hmm.
and you'd be like, yeah, I mean, it's just a different setup. Even though both, like, the Chiefs don't have a 2,000-yard rusher, it's just a
Yeah,
very, very different. I think the way you set it up is 100% accurate. I think if
mm-hmm.
if we include tight ends, does that change much for you? Or do you feel
it
like even what they have with Goddard is solid?
I mean, Goddard is a great tight end, but it would push it closer, just because Travis Kelce is, I mean, 1-2 greatest tight ends depending on who you ask, and then he's the best postseason tight end to ever play. I mean, he's one of the best postseason catchers of all time. I mean, he's on the tails of Jerry Rice in every single major one. He's passed Jerry in some of these
Hmm.
receiving records in the postseason. So it definitely moves it closer. Yeah, Travis Kelce isn't what he used to be, but he's still a huge weapon, especially when it comes to the postseason.
Yeah. Well, okay. So yeah, and I think we both would agree. If overall you're going to get top end to the Eagles,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
when it comes to tight end specifically, only we're both going to go with Kelsey. So when it comes to running back, we're both
Yeah.
going to go Saquon Barkley. And I think
Mm-hmm.
the question isn't necessarily of like who has the bigger defining edge. It's if you have Saquon Barkley, who's the best running back in the game right now, outside of maybe Derrick Henry, and you
Yeah.
have a great offensive line going against this defensive front the Chiefs have. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
Give me the run game versus the Chiefs' run defense. That's the one I want to focus in on when we talk about Saquon Barkley. Who has
Yeah.
the bigger edge in this game when you talk about this?
Yeah. I mean, the Chiefs have. So, I mean, if you're looking at the Chiefs' defense as a whole this year, the one, maybe trip up that they've had, but a part of it was due to some injuries at the, on the defensive line and at the linebacker. But those guys are healthy now. Has been the run game. I think they're ranked like 21st or something like that. But like I said, the injuries and throughout the season have definitely played a part in that, because Mike Ganna was hurt, and then who was hurt. We saw, Bolton, a little bit injured here and there. Chanel, with some, injuries. So they've had to rely on, guys that they weren't expecting to have to rely on. So I think I'm gonna get the slightest of edge to the Eagles, just because the offense line and it's Saquon. He
Okay.
can. We've seen it. I mean, he's at 7 or 8 carries this year in the postseason over 60 yards.
Yeah. Yeah, they cannot let that happen.
Yeah,
I'm keep trying to think of how do I stack the deck on the other
yeah,
side to where you can't say Saquon and the Eagles. Right?
yeah,
Throwing Steve Spagnuolo on that equation. You just
yeah. It definitely that helps.
yeah.
I mean, I think that if there's if I'm Spagnola, if I was any defense coordinator right now in the playoffs and I'm playing the Eagles, I'm doing a lot of what the Packers did. I am loading the box and I'm making Jalen Hurts beat me. And we saw how, bad Jalen Hurts was in that game. He was 13 for 29, 120 yards and 1 touchdown and 2 interceptions. So if that's the case, I think Spagnola is really going to key on. You're not going to stop him completely, but slow him down.
Slow them down.
Saquon, he had barely 100 yards before that last 30-yard burst, run out the clock against the Packers. I think that that's going to be the key for them, is Spagnuolo is going to have to scheme up a way to at least bottle up Saquon to not let him get the 200, the 150, 160,
Yeah.
big, rushing game and make Jalen Hurts be the person that beats you.
Well, then you go to the quarterback side of it. We just mentioned Jalen
Mm-hmm.
Hurts and just possibly the scheme, but you got Patrick Mahomes and you got Jalen Hurts. I mean, it just feels ridiculous. I mean, two of the
Yeah.
top 5 quarterbacks I think in the game right now. Who do you
Mm-hmm.
got?
Yeah, it's Mahomes.
Okay, yeah,
The offensive side is, so much. It's so much easier, I think, than the defensive side because you look at the wide receivers for the Eagles and the wide receivers for the Chiefs and the running back, the offense line. Patrick Mahomes is one of the greatest quarterbacks to ever play the game.
yeah.
Already at this point, I mean, going for Super Bowl #4 already in a 5-6 year span, you can never count any Chiefs team out when Patrick Mahomes is under center.
It's literally the same thing that we used to say. Tom Brady and who? I
Yeah.
don't care. Give me Tom Brady
Mm-hmm.
every single time.
Yep.
Even Tom Brady played in the Super Bowl against the Chiefs. It was like, I mean, I know the Chiefs won, but like it's still Tom Brady. The dude has won 6 of them at that point. So just absolutely crazy to have that.
Yeah.
But, I mean, so head coach, who you got? Get it to
Yeah.
Reed?
Huh? Yeah, it's not even close.
Okay. All right. No, I agree. So that all being said, Tubby, last time these two teams played, same head coach, right? Or no, it's Peters. Okay, same head coach, and he had a great first half. The Eagles did, and the second half, the Chiefs literally played perfect. So that being said, in this game, we both probably gonna. I mean, you can give me predictions on the score, but I just want you to tell me. Do you think? Do you feel like the first half is going to dictate what the second half looks like, or do you think that it doesn't matter what the score is? Both teams are in it at halftime, no matter what.
Yeah, I think it's no matter what. It's going to be a close game. These two defenses are too good to be a blowout. Both defenses are so good that it's not going to end up that way. These defenses are going to scheme to slow down the other offense as much as possible, and it's going to be a really close game. It's going to come down to the second half, and we know what happens in one-score games in the second half when Patrick Mahomes is in the playoffs. The stat I saw the other day, it was pretty crazy. Like they were talking about Tom Brady in the playoffs when it's game-winning drive. I think what they said he had 12 in his career or something like that, and he was like 4 for 12 or something like that, scoring either kick a field goal to go overtime or score a touchdown to win. Then Drew Brees was 3 for 6. You know what Patrick Mahomes is?
8 for 8. Oh no.
7 for 7. So it's going to be a close game. It's going to be the Chiefs. They're going to pull it out again, and they're going to get the 3-peat.
So you're picking the Chiefs. Can you give me a score prediction?
Score prediction, I'm going to go 23-17.
23. Okay, low scoring game. I'm also going low score. I think the over under is like 49.5, which I think, and Chiefs only by a favor by 1.5 points. Dude, here's the thing about the Eagles that puts them in position to win this game. Let's hear me out on this. I'm saying this as a Chiefs fan. They don't stop giving the ball to Saquon Barkley. Where the Bills 13 times we talked about, that's why they lost. We talked about why the Baltimore Ravens should have beat and didn't beat the Buffalo Bills was because they stopped giving the ball to Derrick Henry. It was just absolutely atrocious. The Eagles don't do that. The Eagles continue to give this guy the ball 340 times in the regular season, plus all the times in the postseason, and it wears teams down. That's why, as much as the Packers were able to bottle him up, he breaks one because the game's, it's like breaks your back. And I think that is the key. They cannot stop giving the ball to him, even if they're down by 14. Keep doing it because the Chiefs are 1 3 and out away plus your score from being 1 possession away. That's all I'm saying. And the Chiefs can go. That's their kryptonite. Sometimes is the Eagles would go down to play 8-minute drive. Chiefs get the ball back, got to answer 3 and out after 2 incompletions and a bad run.
Yeah,
I'm just saying. Golly,
No,
dude.
I
All this
I
being
agree.
said, I think it's 22-21. I think it's going to be a lot of field goals for the Chiefs, a couple touchdowns, and big plays for the Eagles, but a lot more field goals for the Chiefs. It's just I don't know, man.
Yeah.
I feel like I should be picking the Eagles.
What I think is going to happen is we are going to see Spagnuolo load the box to slow down Saquon Barkley because he trusts his corners out on the edges to force Jalen Hurts into mistakes. And that's where Jalen Hurts gets in trouble is when you force him to be the guy that beats you is whenever he makes those mistakes and throws it to the other team. I think that's what we're going to see happen. And that's why as much as they're going to give the ball to Saquon, I imagine he's going to get the ball at least 25 times, on the ground.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm going to say Jalen Hurts ends up with 2 interceptions. And that's going to be the difference maker in the game because, like I said, Spagnuolo's he's got it all planned out. I'm not Spagnuolo, but if I was him, that's what I would do because I know my corners are good enough on the edge and my safeties are good enough that I can force him to beat me and not allow Saquon to beat me.
Yeah. So with that all being said, I came into this podcast saying I'm gonna pick the Eagles. I would because of the Saquon Barkley factor, but you, Tubby, have convinced me to be a Chiefs fan and to pick the Chiefs in this game as well, because of the defensive side and what you talked about from the Packers, what they did well, and what I believe in Spagnuolo and this defense to do with depth. They're going to have to not give up those long drives that just drain them. But
Yeah.
give me the Chiefs again. I think 22-21. I think the Chiefs might get the ball in the end zone twice, but a bunch of field goals outside of that.
Yeah, I mean, who better to have kicking those field goals than
That's true.
Harrison Butker? And then that's another thing for the Eagles. Jake Elliott has struggled a little bit in the postseason, missed a couple field goals, missed a couple extra points.
That's true. We
Can't
probably
have
should have
that in
mentioned
this.
that. I'm glad you
Yeah.
did.
Just saying.
Yeah. So far, also not to be out like forgotten. 11 times Hurts has been sacked in the playoffs so far. 11 times. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
Some of those were poor weather, bad snaps. But
Yeah.
still, maybe give him 2 of those. But yes,
Yeah.
it's going to be a great game. Hopefully, the Chiefs get the 3-peat. The biggest question I think many of us are going to be asking is, does Taylor Swift get engaged on this day? That's all I'm saying. Does it happen?
Maybe.
Yeah. Who knows? But we are going to be calling it off. 100 subscribers this last week. Thank you so much for the Luka Doncic trade, for helping that happen.
Yes.
Because oh my gosh, we're going to talk about that on tomorrow's episode. So if you haven't already, make sure you are subscribed. And the good news is because we hit that 300 number, Tubby, we're going to have to do the jersey giveaway, the one that it was going to hurt your heart a little bit to give away, but we're doing it in the month of February. So make sure you subscribe so you can qualify for it, okay?
Yeah. I will have a hint for you on tomorrow's episode.
All right. Well, till then, everybody, make sure you're here tomorrow with us, but we're going to be out. Watch that Super Bowl. Go Chiefs!
Go Chiefs!